I just got here, and it's time to talk about Gachiakuta and common sense. Like this episode, while the action was great, they cooked really hard with Jabber versus Zanka, and we're gonna get to that. I'm really liking Zodil a lot more, how he views the world, or how he kind of breaks down Rudo in a way. And also Rudo's reply was honestly really good here, but having this shock to the system of common sense seems quite an interesting perspective. We've seen it in other series, also kind of bringing you to that near death state when you have a power up. But also what I liked is the underlying theme even a lot more, with humans having this adaptability to more and more things and making things that maybe for you or somebody else seem not normal, very uncommon, very weird, or very bad. For others, that's their normal, and kind of shocking that. And I'm really liking that. We're gonna get into it, but let's talk about this episode. Now, like how at the start we have Katuni checking on everybody, taking notes here. And also, while this episode is very much focused on the fight here, Jabber versus Zanka, and a bit with Zodil and his entire team, also getting a lot more suspicious of Corvos after this, and we even saw it last episode when he was introduced. He really has that attitude about him. He doesn't really get bothered by pretty much anything, so to say. And I like here when we have Deer and Bro Santa versus that old guy revealed to be called Bundus. Cool name, by the way. I really like his attitude there, and the voice actor is always amazing in anything he is. Seems to be a lot more to him than just being a normal raider. He's very focused on Corvos. He wants some information on Corvos. He says he's there on orders from Zodil, but he also has his own goals, and one of them being information on Corvos here. And his powers seems to be those creepy mechanical fingers, hands, and whatever else he had inside there. And I have to to feel for Bros. He was caught between a rock and a hard place. Even he said it himself. Dear Santa was getting frustrated, and the questions that Bundus was asking, even I wasn't expecting it. They kind of made a deal that Bro is gonna answer the questions that aren't bad for them to give out that information. But he just asked what's his favorite food for Corvus. Bro said sweets. How old is he? He didn't know. What does he do for fun? How long has he been with cleaners? Did you see him use his vital instrument? Those are innocuous questions at first, but seeing how big of a mystery Corvus is, and I really like that for Bundus saying, finally see him as a human, just for that simple fact that he likes sweets. So Corvus seems to be this big mystery even for other characters, and made a really good point that he hides his identity, his powers, everything about him, even to his comrades, to the cleaners, considering that Bro didn't know anything about that. So Bundus, while his screen time wasn't big and he wasn't the focus of this episode, he brought a lot of good points here and made a lot of other characters a lot more interesting. Even himself, why does he want to know this? What is his connection to Corvus? And of course, Corvus being the big mystery. And here's how Deer is gonna react when he finally explodes. He loses patience here. We're gonna have a full-blown fight between them, and Bundus actually gives some information as thanks for getting that information on Corvus, saying that if the cleaners lose, they're gonna be tossed to a trash beast, and that they're able to cultivate beasts. So that was a big information for something that seems not a good value for him, but depending how you look at it, it could be a much bigger value. And while this was happening, Samuel alarmed, telling Corvus, hey, the cleaners got taken, what happened with Rudo, and so on, and them asking for help. And Corvus didn't really have a sense of urgency. That's why made him even more suspicious. Even though he agreed to help, something about him seemed a bit off. So I'm definitely gonna keep my eyes a lot more on Corvus moving forward here. But after this, we have the beginning with Zanka versus Jabber, and Jabber is definitely a battle maniac and a masochist, and he has that thing that a lot of strong characters do. They kind of get bored and they have to hold back. He reminds me a bit of Kenpachi, even though he's nowhere near the level of Kenpachi. he has a bit of Kenpachi in him. He has to hold back when he's fighting others, and he gets excited when there's somebody stronger. And even said, hey, finally somebody else besides the boss that can beat me. So I like also the build-up of Zodil, but also get to see full Jabber. And Zanka's just like, I'm just so tired, bro, of these geniuses of everybody. Everywhere I go, there's always somebody like this. I feel you, Zanka. I feel you. But here we have him, just his inner monologue while Jabber was rushing him. I'm just out of ideas. Yeah, I felt that in that moment. But we're gonna get back to the fight. While this was happening, Zodil starts thinking of the sphere and starts talking about adaptability, even though saying, hey, we're different, talking to Rudo, but we have the same look in our eyes, kind of wanting revenge against the sphere. And I really like that concept of adaptability. We as humans are very good at adapting, even in bad situation. You can get used to a lot of bad things. That doesn't mean it's a good thing to live through or with those bad things, but you can get used to them. That's just how humans work here, and we see it even in Gachiakuta, them being used to the trash with everything else that has been going on. But I really liked Rudo's reply there. Why not just talk to me normally if you wanted us to go against the sphere? I already won this, you don't have to convince me, but doing all of this, getting everybody else involved. But I also liked Zodil saying, what even is normal? And this kind of got me to my thoughts from the beginning of the episode. Like, your normal could be very well different from somebody else's normal, depending on themselves, nature versus nurture, where they grew up, what they've been through, how the things around them are, their locations, the culture, and so on. Something normal in a country could be very well abnormal in another country. And I really like that concept. It's something I've always thought about in general. That's why you see so many differences between people and so on. But here we have Zodil. I feel like he's kind of a bit detached in general from everybody else here, and see a bit of world building, that apparently there's worshippers that worship the trash that falls from the sphere, and somehow I wasn't surprised by that. There's always something like this happening where people seek answers into things they don't understand, or give reasons for bad things to divinity, or think they're not worth. This has happened in history also. Maybe I'm thinking way too much, but stuff like this is very interesting to me, even outside of anime. That's why I always like mythology. Hey, you know my name, Ares, coming from Greek mythology. I always liked stuff like that, and history, and how people view things and how it affects them, and the differences from one to another there. But I'm going on a rant with that. It's very interesting for me here. And when he even said there what is common sense and talk about a shock to the system, sometimes it takes a shock to see somebody open their eyes, make them see things differently, or realize something that's right in front of them. And even saying, hey, Jabber did it to you when we had that fight with him. And probably Zanka is gonna get a shock to his system right now, to say the least. So the conversation between Zodil and Rudo is getting more and more interesting here. I'm really curious what Rudo is going to do moving forward. But back to Zodil, he just eats a bug, kind of proving his point, shock to the system, or his normal being able to eat those bugs here. And after that we have the fight. This was the climax of the episode, so to say. The action was really cool, the animation was great, the back and forth, the choreography between them, and Zanka thinking he can't win, but he still wants to prove himself, do everything he can against these geniuses to beat them. So he has the willpower, to say the least, even though he doesn't think he can win, or he doesn't have the power for it. And Jabber definitely goes on the offensive, pushes him, and Zanka was only on the defense for the majority of the fight, or dodging there. And Jabber is able to create those tornadoes, stormy weather, and even fools Zanka, kicking him there, hits him quite hard. And Zanka, I liked how much he was fighting back. Despite what he was saying, he was still fighting back, even with his teeth, actually blocking an attack with his teeth, with the claws from Jabber. And we see a bit of a flashback with, I think that was a girl with a sword, what we saw there. Hopefully we get more information with that and his backstory in the future. and he fights back, to say the least. Actually hits Zanka, breaks his ribs with his vital instrument, and even punches him on the other side. But of course Jabber was into it, then kicks him in the face, and unfortunately he gets slashed by Jabber's claw, which of course the toxins take effect, and after that Jabber just straight up blocks my bad, stabs him in the heart. And I don't believe this for 1 second. I don't believe Zanka is dead. There's two possibilities that this is gonna happen. He's either gonna wake up, somehow get a power up from this, the shock to the system that has been built up for this, something's gonna happen with his power, his vital instrument, or somebody's gonna come in and save him. Now, it would be interesting if we actually have a series killing a main character like this so fast, but I don't think that's going to happen, because I feel he's very underutilized if he were to die right now, and I don't want something like Jujutsu Kaisen to happen again, where I get into characters, I like them, I don't mind that characters die. Death is a good stake, having bigger stakes like this, but if characters die right now, it just feels like, to me, Zanka would be wasted. So I don't believe for 1 second he's actually that something is going to happen with him. Maybe that shock to the system, like I said, but definitely got a lot more interesting right now, to say the least. I'm curious how this one is going to work out, and of course the conversation with Zodil and Bundus. Well, he seemed like a generic cleaner. He definitely did a lot more in this episode, and Corvos is probably one of the most suspicious characters in the series so far, to say the least. But yeah, I'm curious what you guys thought about the episode, what you think about my rambling, what I said with humans, adaptability, and so on, and let me know in the comments below. But please don't go into spoilers. If you read the source material, don't tell me what happens with Zanka or anything else. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, helps me quite a lot, and you guys get the latest videos on the series that I follow. So keep enjoying Gachiakuta. I'm gonna see you again on the next one. Bye bye.